Greetings, Paul.
Yeah, you messed it up. Nope. Sit. That's why I do it.
Greetings.
Put up the voice. Greetings, valued Poll listeners, and welcome to episode 96 of the Poll List Podcast, a bi-weekly show about comics, pop culture, and faith. My name is Chris Poirier, and with me, as always, is the one, the only, the magnificent...
Great Saiyaman!
No. But it is Hector, and but he is here. Well, he's not here. He is there. He was here. Maybe we should have recorded the show then and just really confused people. But
I thought about it, but you were busy.
We were standing in the same place at the same time
for the first time in like 5 years. Well, outside of Redneck Barbecue Lab. But
yeah, that's true. And that happened. There was barbecue and there were rednecks, and it was good. But yes, we are back. It is 2024. At least that's what my computer tells me. Time is but a construct. It's kind of like a rug. I don't know. But we are back, and we have comics to talk about. But we did have comics, didn't we? Well, we might have to talk
surprisingly about that. Not as much for how long we've been gone. It's like expecting future cars in like the 80s.
I want my hoverboard and flying cars.
Yeah, I feel very Marty McFly over what I expected comics to be like this month, and it was underwhelming.
Great googly moogly. Yeah, I think I read a pile on my catch-up that used to be my weekly many moons ago, back in the day. So I mean, I guess that means we gotta jump in to the not satellite of love.
The what?
Yeah, I'm sorry if people are still not catching that this is an MST3K joke. And the spaceship they're on is called the Satellite of Love because
is it really? I don't think I ever noticed that.
Yeah, no, they actually make that reference every now and then, which is super good. They're like, meanwhile, on the Satellite of Love.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, sir, since I've even acknowledged Mystery Science Theater 3000. I appreciate that Felicia Day's on it, and I never.
I'm a Misty, and I have not caught up in current continuity, so I am speaking from a Joel era.
I watched a lot of it because I knew it was the artistic thing to do, not because I enjoyed it.
That's not fair.
Am I this pretentious in my 20s? Yes, I am. I was like, let me dial this back because I don't genuinely care.
I mean, I go back to Joel, but I'm definitely a Mike Nelson guy. So if I just lost a bunch of listeners, I'm not sorry. He was the guy that wrote most of Joel's stuff. Jeez. Anyway, so yeah, that means strap yourselves in and prepare yourselves, for we've got Comic Sign.
Better put the word out. Get ready for the nerd out. Better put specs on. Better bring necks on. I cut handsome checks for my expansion sets. They call me Obi-Wan. Act like you know me, son.
Yeah, see, we'll eventually be that good, but here we
are. I'm gonna surprise you one day. I'm going to buy a neon sign and just pull the chain. Look like Michael Scott. With his Duff Girl or whatever.
That was a lot, but yeah. On today's episode of the Poll List, we have a show for you. I don't know if it's great, wonderful, or other adjectives here, but it is the first of 2024, and we're going to hit the latest news that you need to know, our must-pull recommendations of what made the list, and our favorite number ones, or again, the ones that made the list, and so much more. This is the Poll List Podcast.
Our favorites and the ones that made the list aren't always the same thing.
Sometimes. And occasionally we throw it in there just to mess with you and be like, well, actually, this comic happened. So yeah, let's see. What happened over the month plus that we were gone?
That is a lot of it. A lot of times it's, this comic happened.
Right. Yeah. Well, that happened. Comics happened. one of the biggest industry news things floated through while we were out, because we were talking about it before we took the break, and that was, is IDW going to retain their TMNT, their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles license? And somehow, by the grace of the comic book gods, they managed to get re-upped. And I'm just going to sit here with my shocked face, because IDW's ship has literally been sinking, and I guess
You assume that comics have polydeities.
Oh,
There could be a singular print, but go on.
it's Mephisto.
It's always Mephisto.
He's like, I will give them more IP. So yeah, turtles are chilling, and I guess IDW gets a new lease on life, at least in 2024, until, well, they don't. Seeing as Image picked up the rest of their major IP at the end of last year, it's just, I'm kind of surprised that hung out, but maybe somebody else didn't make a good deal, or all the people involved said, this is where we be. And most of the people that are keeping Turtles alive are a pretty tight crew. So this is my shocked / not shocked face, but for different reasons.
Well, it also comes to the fact that a lot of people that are IDW readers, when it comes to third party properties, are pretty ride or die with it. When it comes to stuff like Power Rangers and even with Buffy's IDW run or Firefly, some people just like say, "Listen, I don't know if I'm ever going to get another chance at this property, so I'm hanging on."
Yeah, so here we are.
Yeah.
Well, so there you go. And I guess I didn't mean to put these so close to each other, but Kevin Eastman's obviously a big part of that decision.
Right.
Well, interestingly enough, one of Kevin's other projects that was kickstarted 2 years ago, 3 years ago, more? It's been a hot minute. But Kevin and Ben Bishop's project Drawing Blood, which we talked about way back when, is going into regular syndicated print at Image later this year. So if you didn't get a chance to read Drawing Blood when it happened, which follows the somewhat real and somewhat fictitious life of a comic book artist life that oddly seems a lot like something they created Turtles, except it was what was it? It was the R's. It was the something radical ragamuffins, the cats. So there you go. But all Kevin and Ben, and I believe the other dude's Avalon, if I remember correctly. So you'll get a chance to see that project. And I'm going to sneeze.
God bless you and your family. That's our show.
Thanks for coming out. Oh, God. Everybody's like sick 4 times over down here, so it's like great.
It's that way up here too.
It's crazy, but also we're doing that South Georgia thing of it's 80, it's 30, it's 80, it's 20, it's 80. Super good. What else we got? Let's see.
This is one that go. So
I was going to say you're interrupting me with news. Please, the floor is yours, good sir.
It's comics related.
It's adjacent.
It's adjacent. Have you seen the upsets in Marvel casting news lately?
No.
So, hold on. Let me read the names because I've wrote this down for my news show for later. Ayo Edaberry, the young lady from You're Neon again, BT Dubs.
Yes. I did actually hear about this, but go on.
Ayo Edaberry, the young lady who just won like an Emmy and Golden Globe for The Bear, she just departed the Thunderbolts.
Yes.
And has been replaced, which is an L. Personally,
and Thunderbolts is also like on its 3rd director, if I recall.
It's on its 3rd director and
2nd or 3rd. Still not a good thing.
They also lost Steven Yeun.
Yep.
As Sentry. And so that's been a thing. But in recent news, this week, an entire plot line has been cut from Captain America
4. Woof. Everything's fine, though.
Everything's fine.
This is
Dude, you're luminescent. But the wrestler Seth Rollins,
Mhm.
um, who is still been kind of doing well in the professional circuit lately in terms of just good entertainment value, apparently was a member of the Serpent Society in
Okay.
which was a villain arc going on in Captain America 4, and the entire Serpent Society portion of the story has been cut. So they cut out an entire crew of actors, and every Seth Rollins scene was removed from the movie because all of the Serpent Society stuff was cut. So that's sad for me in that terms, because my kids would have enjoyed, or one of my kids would have enjoyed that, but also I would have been happy to see him in an MCU film. But yeah, so that's comics adjacent.
Comics adjacent in other media formats.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, I
But
don't know about
Marvel's doing the hokey pokey and trying to turn themselves around.
yeah, and it's kind of disappointing for how good it was. You almost pulled off 3 decades. Apparently, that was the limit.
Also, Millie Alcox, if I'm saying her name right, the young lady that is the younger queen in House of Dragons,
Oh, right.
has been cast as Supergirl, and
I saw that.
Matthew Vaughn is critical of that because how you casting people without a director, which turned to Thunderbolts and carry on.
Yeah. One of these things is just like the other.
Exactly.
So I don't know about you, but what I've been clamoring for is for Rob Liefeld to write something just like he did in the 90s.
Have you though?
No, has anyone?
No.
Well,
I mean, do they not have feet? Do they have lots of pockets?
Big chest. Not in the way half of you just thought, because you either got that joke or you didn't. Just Google Rob Liefeld and Captain America and you'll get it.
My dude had miner's lung or something.
Right? Every time I see that picture, and I'm like, well, at least it doesn't have feet. But yeah, he's taking a product he's calling Last Blood, which kind of feels like Brigade and half of the other things that he did at Image, and is taking it over to creator-owned Whatnot, which I actually read a Whatnot book this week, but it didn't make my list. So some interesting things going over there. It's another creator-owned property, which are starting to pop up all over the place. And I am going to talk about, once again, a very big creator-owned company towards the end of the show that I think is doing cool things. But yeah, so I guess if you're into Image's 90s complete wackiness of random feet, big chest, not in the way you're thinking about it.
Big barreled chests.
Big barreled chest. And probably lots of violence. Congrats, you're going to get it. I guess.
What's it about?
I don't, other than what I literally said, I don't know. Because that was kind of the pitch. Let me double check to make sure there's not like an actual storyline here, but
for any of his comics or just that one?
That's not nice. Oh, this is even better. It's tied to the fact that apparently Image has challenged his ownership of Youngblood.
Ooh.
So it's probably going to be Youngblood, but not.
Okay.
Yep.
Did they ever settle the Fable drama?
Never heard anything about it again. And the last thing, actually, I'm going to have to think about going and trying to hunt that one down, because I have a feeling lots of lawyers.
Yeah, that's probably why we haven't heard anything else.
Is the short answer to that one. That declaring public domain is not how public domain works. But we already did a show about, nope, we already did it.
And our editing team did so great.
Yep, nailed it.
Yeah, killed it.
So my last bit of industry actual news, and this is interesting to me, and we can have a discussion about it, because I have to preface this with I've only been casually reading Batman because I've just not been into it, and have been a little concerned about its kind of randomness and its very 1990s feel, which I get has an audience, but I also am very much so in the reality over here of that's not a lot of people. You either
Right.
loved all of the New 52 or you hated it. And the current vibe has that vibe. And sometime in the middle of last week, so in current time, towards the end of January, the Batman group editor resigned. Didn't get fired, resigned. To basically zero reasoning, no statements on either side, and just rumors of where he's probably going. And Chris isn't saying that those two things might be related, but I have a feeling that there is an editorial disagreement on direction currently that DC is trying to keep to themselves.
What could you be saying, Chris?
I don't know. just saying that I went from Batman was probably the best thing I've been reading for a very long time next to Daredevil, and both of those books made choices in the last couple of months.
Choices were in fact made.
Yep. So yeah, Ben Abernathy was his name, if you didn't know.
I did not know.
And the current rumor,
I don't think
yeah,
editors
you
get
don't
enough
think you
love.
don't. No, and he was technically a group editor, which means technically,
He had the whole family.
yeah,
And
he might have had the
detective.
entire slate, which would make sense that any of the Bat books would fall under the Bat group at DC, the Bat group. But it is rumored Skybound might be the beneficiary of that resignation.
And I'm assuming that allows a lot more creativity than.
I think Robert Kirkman would absolutely tell you it does. I think that's probably his sale pitch on everything.
Okay.
So that happened. But I suppose kind of transitioning into our comics, we have to once again have this conversation of what the heck is going on? I'm going to signpost this with my local comic shop recently is kind of like, hey, can you not only pick up your books, but like we need a lot of help financially to kind of make it through the new year because business ain't what it was.
Dude,
And
I straight up when I was in your town, I wanted to go by your shop, but like hours and stuff.
yeah, I almost sent you the address because I was thinking the same thing. But yeah, and I know it's not isolated to him. I'm hearing other shops kind of say the same thing, that when you walk in and you look at the big two, which are taking up the most rack space, I'm not seeing them move. And this is one comic fan saying, I barely read new stuff because they just haven't even come close in months. The new Ultimate series feels a little better.
It does.
Ish.
It feels like everything new at Marvel feels like, hey, remember when Old Man Logan did well? Let's try that.
Hey, let's see if that works again. Okay, that's very comic books, but also no, bad comic book editor, bad. And then same thing at DC, that they started really good on the Dawn of DC turn. I felt like, and then a lot of books just kind of made me go, okay, right. I'm going to give my honorable mention here because I think it's important. Wonder Woman's actually pretty good.
Wonder Woman, listen, okay, everything that's still good at Marvel to me right now is Zdarsky, even though he's straddling lanes.
Yep.
And Tom King is still writing the best stuff at DC, even though it's not Batman proper.
Right.
But between Penguin and Wonder Woman, dude's just like covering new ground.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think I've had a Wonder Woman book hold me this long that wasn't like, an event or a special. Yeah. So it's worth a mention. It just, the books fell in weird order in terms of whether they were going to make my list of limited 5 comics. And it's extremely well drawn, but a lot of the other stuff isn't either of those things. And that just and of course the cost of comics continue to go up. So I think people are being more discerning in their selections. But in a small-ish town like where I'm at, my poor comic book dude can't get anyone to read anything indie. And the rest of us out here are like, that's what's keeping the industry alive. That's where the good stories are being told right now. So it's very strange because we're seeing this dip in comic readership, and I wish I had more numbers to back that up. I think I'm going to look into that heavier for next episode because there are websites out there that are doing the tracking, but I assume the big two are probably still on top of the list, but I bet their overall numbers are starting to dip if I had to just take a guess looking at the landscape.
Listen, my guy,
My dude.
If Marvel
My brother in
can't,
Christ.
yeah, my brother in Christ. If Marvel can't keep its own self treading water in a cinematic universe where all Marvel content is automatically streamed into every kid's household through Disney Plus.
From the era of good stories that we still have decades worth of telling.
From the stuff we still have nostalgia over how great it was.
Yeah.
And if they can't keep people's attention that way, come on. Ruh-roh. Yeah. So that's a thing.
Yeah, I wish I could figure it out, but it's definitely impacting how I buy comics. Other than to say that I am more likely to give a new indie creator or creator-owned imprint a chance than the big two right now.
Well, I think a lot of it is, dude. You know how like everybody kind of freaked out when the original Star Wars series came out?
Yeah.
And then fast forward 20 years later, 30 years later, whatever it was.
A lot of years.
The prequels drop, and they're like, ugh. And everybody hated the prequels.
Ew.
And then it took the point where we had to get like another 20 years past the prequels for people to start appreciating them. I think we've officially hit the point of saturation where no matter what we drop right now, it's not going to be appreciated, and people aren't going to start appreciating this stuff again until they've had some time away from it.
That could be. Because because like you said, because of Disney Plus and other things, you were certainly getting more than enough of it. And then poor DC's over there like, hey, we released a movie over Christmas, remember?
Oops. Aquaman 2 came out like an awkward family dinner in the middle of a divorce.
Ooh.
Like, listen, kids, I know you don't want to have Christmas dinner at whoever's house, but we have to because that's what the judge said. That's what Aquaman 2 felt like.
Here's Black Manta again.
No, you know what it was? Here's Randall Park.
Yeah. Oh.
It's like, wait, why does Randall Park, who is like still MCU canon, showing up as an awkward scientist / protagonist in Aquaman 2? Like, main character energy. Like, the same reason that, in Blue Beetle, Harvey Guillen played the most racially stereotypical Hispanic scientist sidekick. Like, are y'all just like throwing darts at an ethnicity board and hoping we ignore character?
Ooh.
God bless you and your family.
As he sips his coffee. So yeah, comics is still a really weird space, but there's still lots of really good stories being told. So we continue to be torn kind of down the middle, but that's why we want to talk about it and talk honestly. And that's the kind of stuff we're going to bring to you. I
think some bitterness might have set in over the holidays, man. Ooh.
Have we met? Yeah. So that's what you need to know, at least for now. That's our bi-weekly look at the industry and delivering you the insider knowledge. As always, you can join in on the conversation on the Love Thy Nerd Discord, the Love Thy Nerd Facebook community, or, send smoke signals to Hector, because eventually he'll become really Discord fluent. And
I have looked at and responded to everything that's tagged me.
I'm going to need everyone to
Thanks.
add us and validate that. We're
Yes.
going to need the fact check.
At me, and I will respond to you.
He'll respond.
And on comics news, by our next episode, I'll have comic news.
Say it's not so. Gasp. So yeah, tell us what you liked, what you hated, or if Hector's actually answering his virtual messages.
I'm doing it.
Or probably all the things that we missed, including digital messages, because I probably missed some this time around. I'm just going to be, so tell us about some comic books that you read over the last month or so and why they didn't suck.
Also, Mystique's entire backstory changed.
Isn't all X-Men's backstory changed at this point, seeing as
No,
it's the only
this
thing
is different.
X-Men wants to talk about?
This is different.
Ew. Yeah, hit me. What you got?
Okay. So we are pulling from our entire break series, and I'm gonna dip back and forth. I'm gonna do with most recent.
Some of mine ended up recent-ish, but
most recently is Penguin number 6. It's the beginning of a new Penguin arc.
Is he still randomly killing people with great violence and pithy quotes?
Yes, but in a different time era.
Oh, ooh. This
is basically Penguin Year 1.
Tom King, you rascal.
You rapscallion. Like, what was this one called? An Unimportant Man, Part 1.
Ooh.
This is literally step 1 of Penguin's rise to power / crime, where he gets a job as the bartender at Falcone's bar.
Got it.
Where they do all their dirt and business. And where he started as a janitor and worked his way up in 3 years to become a bartender.
So we're going back and telling the story that Gotham actually told us as a TV show-ish. They fast forwarded through some of it, but that was part of the time period that they decided to throw that Penguin in.
Now, I have lots of criticism of Gotham, the show.
Oh yeah, same.
But I'll say this: they did some good storytelling and creative things.
I just wish the shark jumping was Joker for me in that entire show. If they'd just left that one alone, they might have been okay.
Yeah.
Because Riddler was great, Penguin was great, even Jim Gordon was great. As a police procedural, loved it.
But this has him as a bartender that's getting abused by the Falcones, and him living with a crazy lady, who was one of his former foster mothers.
Yep.
And so he turns to Batman to start giving Batman information on the Falcons so he can take them down in exchange for money to take care of his mother. Or the lady he's...
Right, interesting.
And Batman's like, that's not your mom. Which, by the way, literally first instance, bro, that's not your mom. What's really funny to me is this plays out almost exactly like one of the current plot lines of the season 5 of Fargo.
Oh, interesting.
And some of the stuff that's going on. Because I jumped on Fargo because Keely Jones was the main character in this one.
It wasn't because of Ham, huh? It was Keely. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, John Hamm was great. And also the dude from Stranger Things, Steve from Stranger Things, was the main character in it.
I'm gonna have to break down and go back to this because I've contemplated it.
Dude, I watched all 5 seasons since our break. And Fargo was a delight as a series. But especially season 3, man. But anyway, this matches up with Fargo season 5 in terms of storytelling, but this whole issue focuses around Penguin just basically playing Batman and the Falcons to do the dirty work. He had Batman eliminate the entire Falcone family so he could rise up.
That's dope.
And I don't want to spoil it, but the ending regarding the mom that he has through the whole issue, like, further cements that Tom King is better at writing villains than we are at imagining villains.
I think I'm cool with that.
Yeah, me too. I mean, because here's the thing: I one of the things I loved most about Tom's writing is that he makes heroes better.
Yes,
The double dates with Clark and Lois and
that was
Selena
great.
and Bruce.
That's still one of my favorite books, like ever.
Wonder Woman and Batman trapped in another dimension and actually having to have integrity in their intimacy.
Yeah, that was wild.
Batman and the Unjust Judge. The story with that. He makes our heroes better, but in the same breath, he makes our villains way scarier.
He makes them real, which I think is what makes them scary.
That Riddler book in One Bad Day.
That was going to be the one I was just thinking about.
But I'm saying this issue, and you can if you haven't read any of the Penguins, you can jump in at issue 6 and start like Penguin Year 1. It was dope. This is not a surprise, but Uncanny Spider-Man number 5, which dropped in December, finished out the story as Nightcrawler's run at being a Spider-Man and also trying to deal with his Mystique past and having
is this where they changed it?
No, they changed it in X-Men Blue number 1, maybe.
Of course they did.
It was a book and it sold out because of that. But I will mention that just for continuity standards. But and by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and lay this out here. This is a 5-issue run. This is the whole thing. And I'm going to say this. This is one of the best packaged and presented complete stories I've read from Marvel in forever. In terms of, this was fun. This was entertaining. 5 issues deep. I didn't regret a single one.
Oh, so re-editing, there was one good thing at the big 2. Maybe 2 if we're counting Penguin.
Yeah. So Ultimate Spider-Man or Uncanny Spider-Man was dope. And like Nightcrawler Spider-Man was enough, but they played enough things. There's enough hopefulness that this was just a refreshing Nightcrawler book, especially coming out of all the stuff that we were having on Krakoa. That being said, let me look in my Kindle app to tell you what that was, because I had to buy it on Kindle because I couldn't buy it in a store. Womp womp. And but it's one of the last things I bought. It is, yeah, I was right. X-Men Origins Blue number 1. And this changed Mystique's entire canon. Not just the origin story of Nightcrawler. I remember reading back in the early 2000s when they officially established that Mystique was Nightcrawler's mom and that his dad was Azazel or some red demon, person. That his dad was a demon mutant thing and his mom was Mystique. They've officially changed Mystique's canon to now when Mystique shape shifts, she fully changes her DNA, not just the appearance.
Oh, dang.
So with every shapeshift, she's not just appearing as someone. She's fully becoming that person down to the genetic level.
That's crazy.
So they retconned the story of Nightcrawler's origins. That not only is Mystique now Nightcrawler's mom, she's also his dad.
Oh.
Because Mystique had while Mystique was married to the dude that we originally saw in Nightcrawler's origin story, she had a secret female person of affection. And she shapeshifted into a man and impregnated her wife or girlfriend, whatever it was. I haven't only read it once. And that's where Kurt was born. So Mystique is now his mom/dad.
He's like
it's and so yeah, that's a big old retcon.
Yeah.
and an interesting life choice in terms of story. But that's an X-Men Origins Blue #1, which is why it sold out.
That would do it.
Wonder Woman #4.
Yep.
Now, this is not the most current Wonder Woman. There's a 5, and 5 is her recruiting or trying
not to.
Her 5 is her trying to get all the Wonder Girls to stay out of the fight, while the bad guys are recruiting all the bad guys to specifically take down Wonder Woman.
Yep. Spoiler alert, didn't end that way.
Yeah. But it was still a good issue.
Yeah.
Issue 4
was the better issue.
It's the better issue of like the whole month of November or December. Is Wonder Woman spending a whole issue with a Make-A-Wish kid.
Yep.
They have some conversations about identity and love and religious values and things like that might make some people uneasy, or it might challenge the people or uncomfortable. But watching Wonder Woman spend a whole issue with a Make-A-Wish kid while the world's trying to tear her apart.
Right, when she has her own problems was pretty interesting.
But she has her own problems, and she's choosing to spend the whole day with a Make-A-Wish kid, and even the parents are douches and are upset. But like, this left me in tears as I'm reading it, and good on you. If you make me cry with a comic book, God bless you and your family. And it did. And then for my hot conversation, or not confrontational. What's the word? We're going to argue about it. She-Hulk or Daredevil #5, which features a statuesque drawn She-Hulk parading Matt Murdock all over New York, overeating
a lot.
Like where she's just dragging him from food place to food place, eating mountains of ramen, all these things. And like, as you're reading this, like, the first thing I was like, that's a little unlike She-Hulk. And then the longer the issue goes on, you're like, what? This is either the worst written She-Hulk or something's wrong. And, you know, then we get to the trope of where this storyline has been going in these 5 issues, is that yet another demon has possessed one of Matt Murdock's associates. Like, Elektra got possessed, Ben Urich got possessed, and now She-Hulk gets possessed. And what it turns out is Matt is being pursued by the 7 deadly sins. And
yes.
And so the 7 deadly sins are infiltrating the lives of Matt Murdock. I
already saw this anime. What? Sorry.
But again, Daredevil defeats this demon with quoting scripture and having a big splash page about how he's a man of God. Now, this has some of the better writing of this 5-issue arc so far, but it's still not the best. Chris said that the art is a borderline bad Adam Hughes for She-Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I was on this is the worst She-Hulk story I've ever read until the end. And even then I was still like, I don't like it. And I think it's because like they decided to do Iron Beach version She-Hulk on top of that. And
yeah,
this is the 1990s again thing that I've been talking about even over at DC, that this entire book has been you've pulled me straight out of like a really kind of heavy story to what is happening.
Well, and I do think that giving you the beach version of She-Hulk, when it's actually the spirit of gluttony, like, what does gluttony want? It wants all the food, but it wants to be super hot. And so I felt like that was a good dynamic. But I get why it felt wonky in that capacity. But looking at it through the lens of what the twist was, it was fun. Plus, I love Daredevil and She-Hulk together.
It's Mephisto.
It's Mephisto. Bro, it will be. And you know it. It's going to be Mephisto. Please tell me what you read and sort of enjoyed.
Oh, I enjoyed all of them. Just one of them's going to be interesting. So, but y'all going to get tired of me saying it, but
Local man?
Yeah, no, actually, it's still pretty good and super wild, but it's
that
almost
that road book. What is it?
Oh yeah, well, all right, keep up. Rare Flavors,
Rare Flavors, the cannibalism book.
which so again, we get to talk about how each issue makes you go, do I hate this guy / probable cannibal that's maybe not a cannibal, but like I did mention in the last time, spoilers not spoilers, that we clearly learn he is some type of immortal demon, as these demon hunters are kind of like following him through all of his little escapades, and that after each regular food dish he's been outlining, a dead person shows up. And they did a really good job in the first 2 issues of, well, did he do it? You just don't know. And so full spoiler alert, because I'm unpacking this thing as we go. Yeah, it's a cannibal book.
Good for you.
And so he gets caught red-handed finally by the other videographer that he's brought along with him. And the guy's like, oh God, it is true. And it's kind of like the demon is like, I told you that. Because he kind of did at the end of
my guy.
The other, right. And so the demon hunters are there, and this book opens up with the demon hunters are going to carve him up and cook him. So that's an angle. This book is so wild to me between how well drawn it is, and we're following this guy that they have created a certain amount of empathy for what is truly probably not the good guy, but that the demon hunters are definitely not the good guy, which is an interesting piece of this. But I just want to leave you with a quote from the end of this book, because we saw this setup coming. And it's because, like I said, there's these entire sections where he goes through and he talks about the preparation of the particular dish that he's following for that issue, and how it's made and everything. Like, I think you almost could cook some of these based on the fact that I think the full recipe usually is mentioned somewhere, which is a really neat twist on
sleep
this.
out the human.
No, but yes, but no.
Yes, legally, government.
Yes,
leaving out the human.
That's and not actually.
Chris is not suggesting murder or cannibalism.
The thing that's really wild is, I don't think these things are designed to swap the quote unquote meat out of the dishes. I think the dishes truly are appreciated for what they're supposed to be by the demon. But if you go back and look at all 3 issues, when he talks about the dish, he talks about the particular chef that came up with it. And if you notice, yes, there is a huge amount of detail about that person's life in each of the explanations, on top of them making the actual dish. I'm setting all this up because even though it is really whacked out, this quote kind of puts it all together. And he's like, no. He's like, you're supposed to listen to me. It's like, you're trying to make it seem like I'm some kind of evil demon. And it's like, yeah. But I was trying to show you something. It's the people. It's always been the people. People are the single most beautiful, delicious, and flavorful things I've ever encountered in my near eternal life. Don't you see? And it's like, I am now fully uncomfortable, and you have successfully literally walked that past us for 2.5 issues, making us question whether the thing we thought it was truly was the thing it was. It's truly the thing we thought it was, but there's 3 more books in this, which tells me there is more to where this is going. That is the most whacked out thing I think I've read in a while. And this is not in the vein of an Ice Cream Man or any of the other like really creepy books that are making a huge splash in comics right now. I don't know what to do with that information, but this is still a really interesting book because of that, because Rom is either incredibly demented or incredibly brilliant, or both. So yeah. So speaking of demented things, Oh no, the indies are really not doing me any favors. Sacrificers continues to unfold. So the Sacrificers is that dude that goes around collecting basically young children from all the random folk across the land so that they can be harvest of their youth and their joy for a series of now immortal gods that are immortal because of this process, because otherwise they age like everyone else and die.
So the public school system. Go
yes.
on.
What? The child of the gods has kind of been on the periphery of this story since the beginning. And she follows the lead sacrificer dude out because, you know, he kind of stormed out of a meeting in the last book and thought that he was doing something evil, that he had killed her mother, because unfortunately you find out in this process that the sun god is married to the moon god, and the moon god stopped taking the stuff and has been aging, and everyone's like, why is your wife getting old? And everyone else is cool.
Because he eclipsed her. Meh.
Oh, I'm sorry. But in him getting really angry and killing the moon, he uttered the phrase, "You will never eclipse me again."
Bro, I did it! I wrote this issue. Yes.
Brought to you by Hector. Yeah, that happened. And I was just like, oof.
Go me. From all these years of Pokemon names.
Yeah. So anyway, so the daughter goes after, you know, the basically executioner dude, and he uses the little, they use these chairs that look like, you know, the I'm getting a blowout. Things to suck the joy literally out of children and kill them. He's like, cool, well, guess what? My machine does other things, and throws the god in there. And what he gets out of that is basically the essence of the gods. And he's like, I'm going to finally become a god because I was promised that. And that's why I've been killing all these kids for them.
So he fattened up the god so he could take the full god power. Cool.
No, didn't fatten him up. He just killed the god's child because it's like, you're annoying and you have what I need. And everyone else is like, this is a bad idea. And it's like, I mean, in story writing world, this feels like a bad idea. But at the same time, the pigeon dude that we've been following through the rest of the story actually breaks out of the little holding cell.
That sounds like somebody's TikTok, bro.
Right? And literally like rolls in during this fight. And is like, oh, that's the god princess lady. I should help her, even though I hate her for reasons. And accidentally gets the god juice splashed on him. And so I think you can figure out where that end of this issue ended up. And that's that the least of these is now got the power of a god and isn't supposed to, and is kind of angry about everything. So I still kind of want to see how this all plays out. That's the only time that I sat there and went, yep, that's pretty obvious. As it was happening, it's like, got it. No one's getting what they want. And literally the weakest and lowest of all the characters, but has good integrity, suddenly has the power of a god. That happened. Okay. There you go. So back over to Jeff Lemire is writing a ton of books right now. Tentament as his horror book is off my list because that shark way jumped. Way weird.
I don't think I made it past issue 2.
Not tracking. Did not do as good as Gideon Falls and making me go, at least I want to know where this goes.
Dude, I don't think I finished a whole Lemire book outside of Maze.
Okay.
No,
Maze was good.
Yeah. But it's just like, yeah.
So, Phantom Road. That guy's most likely the devil. And he showed back up. So the place that the two worlds intersect in Phantom Road are basically their equivalent of a Buc-ee's, which still is really funny to me and is very much obviously on purpose. In the last book, the bear that is part of, it's like Billy Bear or something like that is the name of the place instead of Buc-ee's. Billy Bear shows up as an autonomous being killing the zombie things and helping them, and really weirds everybody out because it doesn't really say why. But all the different stories that are interacting here, they're still taking the alien egg / something to Golgotha, and this dude keeps showing up saying, yeah, keep doing that, and don't trust anyone else you come into contact with. And the problem is, the last time that they saw another being is Billy Bear at the end of his little murderous protect them campaign turned into an angel.
Okay.
Think Archangel Michael, not 7 eyes and 7 wings and all that.
Word.
And only one of the 2 humans
Now,
saw it.
are we on John Travolta, Michael? Or like...
No.
Okay, cool.
We're Centurion armor and whole 9 type thing.
Okay, cool.
But only one of the people saw it. And she's like, I don't know what to do with this information, because when they run into, they call him Hawaii because of his Hawaiian shirts.
Yes.
But he's like, don't trust anything you see or do. I'm the only person trying to help you. And I'm like, yep, that's the devil.
Right.
That and when the trucker can
go on theology.
Right. The trucker like threatens him once, and he just looks at him and he's like, you're gonna not want to do that ever again. And I was just like, that's dope. But also back in the real world, we're still following the FBI agents that have just learned about this, the group that knew this, which was her father and her partner. And you see a photo in a file of that dude wearing a Men in Black suit with her father. They just kind of drop that one and move on.
Okay.
So there are so many things going on here, and I have no idea where any of them are going. And that's why I'm like, okay, Jeff, you land this, because
it's either going to be fantastic or it's going to crash and die.
Yep. And that's what I'm most worried about right now, is because either that's going to be a, wow, that was really good, or it's going to be like, ooh, all the right stuff made it into the pot, and nope. And my final one's...
It's like in the Pokemon games when you throw a bunch of ingredients in the pot, and then it like does it shake, and then it's like dubious food. That and Zelda. But yeah,
I was going to say Zelda is the other one. It'll be like,
And Link looks like he's going to chuck. Yeah.
Right. It's exactly that. That's how we know. My fourth is really easy. Star Wars Thrawn Alliances.
I saw that drop. How was it?
So the reason I'm not going to spend a lot of time here is this is literally a graphic retelling of the book by the same name.
It's sitting on my shelf. Somebody brought it to me the other day.
But that said, Zahn is writing it with Hauser. So Zahn obviously wrote it, so he should know a thing or two. But Jodie Hauser is also really good, so she nerdy. It's well drawn. So if you want to see that story, in not movie, but in cool colors and everything,
over the next 9 years as they tell it.
It doesn't look like it's going to take that long. Okay. This is honest and pretty dope. So if you love the Thrawn like I do, this is actually one of the cooler stories.
Somehow Thrawn returned.
Yeah, no. There's always a reason Thrawn returned. But what this is a current story that actually flashes back to when Thrawn meets Anakin. And that's why it's called Alliances, is because it starts with the Emperor being like, hey, Vader, I need you to go with Grand Admiral here to take care of this thing on a planet. And so the debate is this an underhanded move of the Emperor to tell Thrawn and Vader that he knows both of their pasts? And also whether the two of them will admit that they realize that obviously Vader / Anakin knows, but Thrawn's basically like, I know who you are, bro. Because Thrawn's like, you fight the same way as there's lots of comments throughout this entire story that will come up where Thrawn's like, you fight like somebody I know. And Vader's like, no. But it's actually a really good story. It's also a Padme story, which gives lots of credit to how Padme actually can be, if written well.
Now we got to edit.
Do we, though? I said it and I own it.
Yeah, but Matt's going to edit it.
That's unfortunate. So yeah, hit me with that new shiny number one.
Oh. So
Yeah,
I did.
We're still doing a show here. Keep up.
Sorry.
Oh my.
I was going to draw a Diglett coming out of a toilet. I was going to say what's popping. Check my Insta feed. It'll be there. But
it will happen.
It will happen. I did Moon Man number one solely because it was written by Kid Cudi, and I was interested to see what a rapper had to say in this capacity. Because most rap comic books end up being here's how I'm a rapper and saving the world, not a superhero story. And if you go to the
not a superhero story,
well, like no offense, but like DMX or DMC's book was like, hey, how can I be a rapper and a superhero? Like, I wanted to see if it was going to be something different. Which, by the way, turn your neon down.
I can't.
But he says at the back of the book, which, by the way, because Chris had his muggle moment with this.
I had a big muggle moment on this one.
Okay. Because the front of the book says Kid Cudi presents Moon Man. And then he's like, but he didn't write it. Somebody else wrote it. Kid Cudi's government name is Scott Muscudi. And which that's
look, man, I still stick with if you slap presents on it, it usually means it's only inspired by.
Yeah, and I get that. But he says at the back of the book,
I muggled out bad on that one.
Yeah. Because he wanted to like use his government name for writing, not his rap name. But it says Moon Man is a character for the people. I wanted to make a hero that represented all that was good in the world and followed a man on a journey of self-discovery. When I was a kid reading comics, I used to dream of one day that I could make my own hero, my own world, and I'm finally living another childhood dream. Now, Moon Man is yours. He is your hero for the people, for the planet, for the universe. And it's giving you a setup of a universe and a space mishap, a dude who ends up with some powers. I mean, it's there. What I'll say this: there's nothing new here.
Yeah.
There's nothing new here, but it's differently packaged, and you can tell it's being written by somebody that's not just like trying to give you another thing. I feel like there's some heart and originality to it, and given the fact this is coming from a musician / rapper / actor, if you call that's what he did in Bill and Ted 3, you know.
And this one almost made my list because it's also beautifully drawn.
It is beautifully drawn, and there was a Netflix series that looks like Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
And he's one of the people behind that. That was what I think propelled me to read this. I don't hate it. I would more likely pick this up in trade than I would in single issues, but we'll see.
That might be fair. Because the whole thing of them, like, clearly they work for, an Elon Musk or a Bezos space. See, the problem is they're like, everybody hates you, and I'm sitting here like, well, which one?
Oh, it's funny. Not sure if you're aware of this. Like, Janus was the name of a
two-faced Roman god.
Yeah, but there was a whole Batman story arc around Janus. But Janus currently in real world time, is the name of a company that works with military fleets.
That checks out, and also not surprised.
So, like, as I'm reading this, I'm like, these are the people that like do all the behind the scenes stuff for the Navy and the Air Force and stuff. And so It's just like, okay, you're gonna get shot.
I am familiar with the Janus group.
Okay.
But anyway, they were in space, and the whole premise is they come back apparently, and it's because something happened. All of them are missing 7 minutes of their life, but they're like, everything's cool. Except he has superpowers now.
and wears some kind of funky spacesuit to hide his identity. And you only get like a 3-second glimpse into him being a hero.
Yeah, the release is at the reveal is at the end, such that it were.
All right, what's your number one?
My number one is a cheat, but I will take it. Yeah. You either get that or you don't.
We installed that light switch so you could turn the lights on and off, not have a rave.
Ghost Machine number one is technically an anthology book, but it's an introduction to the entire Ghost Machine universe, which I think I ended.
Wait, Ghost in the Machine or
no? Ghost Machine.
Okay.
Is the imprint of the unnamed universe, which has been Geiger, Junkyard Joe, all that stuff that a handful of us were like, these are really good. This outlines the entire unnamed universe, which is this concept of this alternate history / everything. So Geiger's part of it, a character named Redcoat, which is British army dude from back then that basically time freezes for in 1776, and he comes all the way forward. There's some stories about the future, books called Rook Exodus, and it's got cool art and action-y type stuff. Well, here's the thing. So I hit and they're also like, and they have this thing called Family Odysseys where they have 2 books that are families of super like people that kind of get in zany adventures and everything. There's almost basically a Quantum and Woody like thing in here. Like I hit the end of this book and went, Valiant? But when it was good.
You don't say.
Right. And so I'm just flipping through all these things and I was like, this is another one of those. I would probably read most of these books. And it has a very Valiant feel across the thing. But yeah, it's another creator owned. It's technically an Image imprint, but we're talking Jason Fabok, Gary Frank, Brian Hitch, Jeff Johns, Lamont McGee, Francis Manipul, Brad Meltzer, Ivan Reese. Like,
boy, I haven't had a Brad Meltzer book in a while.
Right. Peter Tomasi, and you just keep going. And I'm like, okay. And I'm here for it because Junkyard Joe is really good. Geiger started out really good, but looking at the other stuff that they're unfolding, like here's a picture from the Redcoat.
Yeah, that was one of the things that got mentioned in our response stuff on the socials.
Yep. And that's why I'm just like, but even the kids' books, there's basically a teenager buddy up book that's in the family series. But you hit the very end of this book, and there's also, we're going to do super scary 1 or 2 books as well. So Ghost Machine shows up, and they're like, we're doing all the things, and we're doing it good. And I'm like, what just happened?
Okay.
So I think you're going to hear me utter that Ghost Machine even more and the unnamed universe even more because this feels like all of the right things you want to pull out of the 90s.
That sounds good, actually.
Right? And that Gary Frank art for like half of it is just, I mean, I'm a major Watchmen fan, so not, yeah. All right.
Because the art you want is either Gary Frank or Lisa Frank.
That's fair. So yeah.
Do you remember who Lisa Frank is?
No, I got nothing.
Oh, she's the lady that did the funky neon pattern binders in the 80s. And the folders and stuff with like dolphins and weird.
That's that Trapper Keeper.
Yes, that's Lisa Frank.
Let's go.
So yeah, unlocked.
Yeah. Achievement unlocked. So we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
And that's, yeah, we make that joke every time. And I tried really hard to be like, I'm just naming this episode that again. But I'm not doing it because that would be like 3 seasons in a row.
Where that's the episode title?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do it.
Am I gonna push it that way on the socials? Yes. Absolutely. But that is, in fact, going to do it for us here at the Pull List Podcast. Episode 96.
Oh, wait. Let me say the thingy.
No, Hector said no. Never mind. We're back. We're back.
So from the community.
Special thoughts with Hector.
Viridian Toothy Cow on Discord.
Say what?
That's the Discord name.
Okay.
Said a returner's magic should be special. And Alpha Core have been dope. Edwin Rivera says Wolverine #4 was bonkers, and Resurrection of Magneto was beautifully written.
Magneto was right, so
yeah.
What?
Yeah, always. And Kevin Connolly says Ghost Machine, Redcoat Rockefellers.
Yep.
You know what you just iterated on. He said Batman and Santa was better than it had any right to be.
I did hear that Silent Night was actually worth it, but I just can't bring myself to buy something.
The Superman story and the Batmite thing was really good. I posted that outline on Faith and Fandom. And let's see. And Ultimate Spider-Man, Andy O said. And I will say this, it didn't make my pull, but the Ultimate Spider-Man book was, I feel like, a good story.
Yeah, that's what I gathered.
I just feel like I need some more before I care.
That's fair.
Yeah.
This was brought to you by listeners like you.
PBS graphics and sound.
The more you know. No, that's something different. Anyway.
Yeah.
Make sure that you check us out in all of the places. We are on the YouTube, so that means if you're not staring at us awkwardly while listening to it, then are you really experiencing the show? But it's true.
If you didn't see me kick my foot on my desk and try not to say words, you missed it.
Yeah, you missed it. But as many of you know, we do not take this epic journey of nerdy stuff and podcasts alone. We do so along with all the other shows at and on the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network, which is, well, 2/3 Hector at this point, but it's still awesome. And we have lots of other friends doing other cool stuff over there. So you want to see stuff about role-playing games, or Matt talking about random nerdy things, or Hector talking about quite literally all of the things, just in different formats.
Yes.
You should jump on over there.
A rapper.
We don't have rappers.
Yeah.
So be sure to visit lovethynerd.com for more information, previous episodes, and maybe you'll find yourself something new and cool to listen to and or watch. And as always, in the new year of 2024 of our Lord, Hector and I want to thank you for choosing us as your primary comic book knowledge factory on the mostly near weekly. Well, it's bi-weekly, and we do pretty good about that now. 5 years in, we finally did it.
Hey. Because we have great support.
Yeah, we do. So don't leave us hanging. Rate, review the show on your podcasting app of choice. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, probably a bunch of other places too, because we are slowly taking over the internet, 1 hour of comic book nerdiness at a time. So thanks for listening. And remember, kids, read more comics.
Ba-doo.
I'm gonna take all 7 continents. The game of real.